Hello and welcome to session 36 of my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. This is being recorded on June 23rd, 2023. So last session we finally got to Dyrford Village. We explored a little bit. We got a quest to find someone named Lady Elise. We talked to this guy here, Trigal, who tried to make us believe that he and Elise were having some kind of tryst in nearby Dyrford Crossing when they were attacked by an ogre, but we didn't really believe him because he stinks and she is a noblewoman. So we've talked to quite a few people about Lady Elise within Dyrford itself, and now we need to go to Dyrford Crossing to continue our searching. So let's see what happens if I unlock this with the courier's key. Will he get mad at us? Stay out of my private quarters. That goes for you and Heron's bootlickers. Okay. So we can't even enter there now. There's definitely something going on with this guy here. He is up to something. Okay, actually I want to walk this way on my own because I don't think we've been here yet. Dyrford Crossing. Last time I fought these beetles, I think, was beneath the Keep of Cadnua, and they were very difficult at that point. Obviously, they are not so much anymore. Okay, so now we at least have access to Cleobon Rilog. Not going to go there yet. It looks like to cross the stream here.
All right, then.
It's a little hiding spot there. Widowmaker Spiderling. I believe we fought this type of spider yet. Darren's cast this spell. This does this. Okay, Spider Venom Sac. So through a bestiary here for Widowmakers. Okay, it's the same thing. Enormous and hostile spiders come in a terrifying array of shapes, colors, and sizes throughout the eastern reach. Much more aggressive than their tiny kin, these giants actively seek out human and animal prey. Even the weakest of them, the spear spider, can easily kill a grown kith if the victim is unprepared. Though the spear spider lacks a poisonous bite... Why is this the spear spiderling? So it says these are more deadly than spear spiders. Widowmakers do not cast webs, but their poison is extraordinarily toxic. Okay, it looks like we've read everything about the Widowmakers. Seems like they're the most dangerous kind of spider. We have a cave here with a lot of blood and gross stuff outside of it. Skeletons, blood. Tasty. It's like there's like a body up here. It's like we get there by traveling through that cave. Dead drakes. Worms. Not got worms yet. Worm wings. Even at their youngest, dragons are dangerous creatures. This is the wing from a worm, already impressive in its span. So, let's take a look at worms. So let's see, drakes. There's a larger entry on drakes. Let's see. Yeah. So worm is an early form of a dragon. Dragons in this game are kind of fully grown worms than drakes. We haven't fought any drakes yet, so I'll save that one, but let's read worms right now. So there's a picture of a worm here. Kind of cute, actually. Young dragons begin their life cycle as worms, though most never develop beyond that stage. Worms are clever and sly, if not especially intelligent. To develop into a drake and eventually a dragon, a worm must have ample space and resources. They will not develop if they live near existing drakes and dragons. They must seek out a habitat that has not already been claimed by a larger counterpart. Since the chances of further development are low, most worms will band together in covens for survival, which we actually just saw. We saw a bunch of worms together. They are bold and highly aggressive creatures, if not particularly intelligent. The intense competition for food and territory demands this. So interestingly here, it doesn't seem like growing for worms is a foregone conclusion. Like, humans are babies, and then they grow into toddlers, and then they grow into adolescents, and then they grow into adults. And that is basically, unless you die, that's what happens. Unless you die early, that's what happens. For worms, it seems like they have to seek out their own space in order to begin growing into a drake and then eventually a dragon. Which then it seems counterproductive because they also like to band together. So a worm needs to, it seems like a worm needs to want to become a dragon in order to become a dragon. It needs to seek out a space that is not already claimed by another drake or dragon, and then live long enough to become a drake and eventually a dragon. But many of them also band together. Very interesting. I really love the lore in these games, how so many tiny things like this have been thought out. Like, how do the beasts interact with their environment? How do they grow? Those kinds of things. It seems like there's always some thought put into that, and I really appreciate that about this game and its lore. I got some more wings, a dead adventure. Get some money on them.
Of course. This.
Worms up here. I don't know what's going on with those adventurers down there.
Get on.
Storm wings.
Of course.
Nothing else over here. Forest lurkers. Some poobras. I wonder if this is going to be a tough one. Fire seems like a good thing to use against these guys. Do it again. No, I can't give it to myself.
Just like it.
Oh.
Stuck over here.
He's down. I thought it. Ooh. Oh, I thought I saw Elder Forest Lurker. Okay, I thought I was doing better here, but apparently I am doing very poorly. Ogres seem to have summoned some blights. The archer's down.
Leave it.
Get on.
Oh, there's a Ogre hiding behind that forest lurker. Alright. Ugly but done.
Of course.
That's some awakened wood there. Another corpse. Boots of the Long March. These boots bear the rising sun of Aethys, and they were first worn by a foot soldier in St. Widwin's army. The daughter of poor Vorlis farmers, she was sickly and frail all her life, yet such was her devotion to Aethys that when the Raedsaren army marched on the Deerwood, she set off to join them against her family's warnings, traveling all the way to the White March on her own. When she finally arrived in the army's camp, it is said that St. Widwin himself came out to greet the young woman, blessing her for her courage and endurance. Her boots were branded with the emblem of his army, and she continued to cross the mountains with the troops. She disappeared, however, after the detonation of the Godhammer. Historians and folklorists disagree on whether she died in the explosion, remained in the Deerwood, or met another fate on her way back to Raedsaris, but her boots somehow remained behind. Aethys' faithful often maintain that she ascended with the god himself at the end of the war, leaving only the shoes that served her so faithfully. Whoever this woman is not named. The daughter of poor Vorlis farmers. Interesting there, and remember here that she had to go to the White March because there was or in the White March, I forget the name of it, that allowed St. Widwin and his army to pass through to the Deerwood. And because of that, the people of the Deerwood still hold grudges against the people of that place in White March, whatever it's called. And this woman, it seemed, defied all odds to join St. Widwin's army. And also, we get a max endurance boost and athletic boost. I wonder if Dare has boots on. He does not, so let's give those to him. And now would be a good time to rest. Let's give him Wilders. Seems like there's a lot of Wilders here. Sebas, a man turns to face you, wiping blood from his estoc. His knit brows betray a moment of confusion, but as he watches you, a slow, confident smile creeps over his face. The Iron Brand does not meet many travelers this far from the road. What would they be doing out here? Ralph, an elven man, cocks his head at the other. Probably after that dragon egg, same as us, boss. Ah, here's the dragon egg. Now look at this dwarf in some kind of, he's got like antlers, like their mask is made of like a dwarf face or something like, not a dwarf face, a deer face. A dwarf curses and spits into the grass. It's a rhetorical question, you dimwit. He tightens his grip on his sword. Everyone knows the roads between the villages are crawling with brigands. They're obviously bandits, same as us. So they're bandits here. Why would you want a dragon egg? To sell it, of course. If I wanted to eat it, I would have grabbed some pigs by that farm. I would have grabbed some pigs from that farm in Dyrford too. What do you know about dragon eggs? They are round and large and come from dragons and drakes. What else is there to know? Oh, we can lie here and try and trick these people. Only that drakes mark their eggs. So you'd better hope you sold it to the next poor sod before the mother comes looking for it. The other bandits whisper amongst each other. The leader holds up his hand. Quiet! You can't seriously believe this, and even if it is true, we'll sell it before that happens. Elfia. I'm not taking any chances with drakes. Say what you want, I'm out. She hurries off. So we at least scared one of them enough. Let her go. That just means a bigger cut for us. That looked like a spellcaster too, so I'm glad that she left.
You're not.
Man, how did they make it this far? Ooh, there it is up there. We have an exceptional estoc. Oh, and this stag helm actually has properties. This large helm is fashioned from the head of a stag. Those who wear the helm gain some aspect of the creature whose visage they wear, for they find themselves more sure-footed and swift, and their endurance improved. Let's give this one to Sagani. That seems appropriate for her.
All right then.
Nest egg. I found the abandoned roost perched atop a cliff in the northeast area of Dyrford Crossing. It looks like a difficult climb. I may want to check my supplies before I attempt it. Alright. The cliff face is blackened and melted like candle wax. There's a small outcropping overhead with what appears to be a crude nest. It looks like a challenging climb. I'm going to use one of my grappling hooks. You toss the grappling hook over the ledge, holding the attached rope with one hand. The hook lands with a satisfying clang, and you secure the line with a firm tug. Climb the rope. You take another look at the cliff. There may only be space for one person at the top. I'm going to send Adair. The rope makes for a quick ascent. Adair climbs to the nest in the cliff with ease. The nest is surrounded by glowing embers, twigs, and bones litter the area. An egg the size of a small keg is nestled into the detritus. It looks heavy and awkward to carry. Secure the egg with rope and lower it. Adair ties a rope around... Oh, so we lost another rope and grappling hook. Adair lowers the egg with slow, steady motions. Once the prize has reached the bottom and settled into the dirt, Adair safely climbs down the cliff. Alright, we got a dragon egg. And Adair is none worse for the wear. Thank you, Adair. Okay, so it's time, I think, to head to the cave. Yep. What's out here? Check that first. A Zorp priest.
Leave it!
And stone beetles. Beetle shell. The segmented armor-like shell of a very large beetle. Zorp tongues. Some sort of weapons. Bloodstone. Yep. We have some statue here to interact with. You stand within what looks to be a ruined shrine. The moss-covered remnant of an ancient statue lies before you. Examine the statue. Only the broken legs and feet of the sculpture remain. Long grooves alongside it suggest that it could be moved. Near the base of the statue, you discover a skull carved into the stone. Use a hammer and chisel to gouge a hole near the statue. Let's examine the skull first. The skull is carved into the stone in intricate relief, its mouth agape. Peering closely, you notice a rusty keyhole between its jaws. Pick the lock. Durrance pushes several tumblers into position with a series of rusty clicks and squeals. Suddenly, the ruined statue begins to move. The displaced pedestal reveals a dark passage descending into the earth.
Where do you suppose this leads?
Ooh. So we move the statue and there is a cave underneath there. Have to come back there and check that out. I think I was all over here. So it looks like we've explored as much of this area as we can. This part especially is driving me crazy. Oh well, let's go to this cave first before we go beneath the statue. Oh, this is the Ogre cave. Okay. I found a cave east of the Vale River. It smells like the corpse rot. Something hungry must live here. Spider?
I'm stuck.
Since the webs here and stickiness, these are not very difficult spiders. Oh, a lot of people weren't attacking. keep forgetting that I need to cast spells with the Archer now. I had him on automatic before, but I changed it. And now he's got 100 focus saved up that I just didn't use. Venom sacks. Venom sacks. Cave coral.
Someone's a messy eater.
A lot of bones. Some bears that don't just attack us. Skulls and bones from an assortment of kith and beasts litter the cavern. They've been crushed, scored, gnawed, and punctured by something with fangs as thick as Naumao's finger. Ooh. The ogre has a name, Korgrak. As you advance into the darkness, the ground begins to tremble. You hear plodding footfalls, growling breaths, and bone-snapping crunches. An ogre steps out of the shadows, 10 feet tall and bulging with muscle. He tears a mouthful from a hoofed pink-fleshed limb and tosses it aside. He watches you from under the thick ridges of his brows, too well equipped to be a villager. A bandit from the road, then? Must be. The ogre snorts and tightens his grip around the club. I've kept to myself, killed no one but the fools reckless enough to chase me down here. Why have you come looking for me? I'm looking for a young elven noblewoman. She's gone missing. Korgrak's snarl reveals a row of large stained teeth. I've done my best to avoid kith, especially the kind that might give rise to search parties. He scratches his knuckles and eyes you. She never came here, of that I'm sure. Then I'll look elsewhere. First, I want to ask you something more. He glares at a spot over your shoulder as if he expects to see someone lurking behind you. Speak fast. A farmer from Dyrford claims you ate his pigs. He rams a fist into a wall and roars. Then I should have eaten the blazing farmer. I underestimated the love these villagers have for their swine. Calm down. Perhaps you could tell me something else. His toothy frown deepens. What? If you've been minding your own business, how did all these bones get here? He grinds his teeth with impatience. Spiders got most of them. The rest blundered in here looking for trouble. What are you doing in this cave? Hiding from your kind. He scratches the tusk, glaring at you. Kith driven from their homes by strange storms, bandits out for blood and coin. My kind is unsafe around Kith in the best of times, but now? Tempers run hot, and ogre blood is valued among your alchemists. His fingers flex around his club. Using my intellect, I will say the only reason you'd hole up in a spider-infested cave is if you really feared something out there. He smashes his club into the ground. I told you, the kith on this road these days hunger for anything they can eat or sell. I wouldn't last a week wandering in the open, not by myself. He clutches his club with both hands and draws it closer. And you seem sensible enough to understand that now you found me here, I can't let you leave. This place isn't safe. Even if you kill me, it's only a matter of time before someone else finds you. He grits his teeth and glares at you, his eyes hard and narrow with rage. Korgrak takes several heaving breaths, seemingly ready to charge at any second. Finally, he drops his club. That's what I was afraid of, he sighs, blasting you with his fetid breath. Time to move on, then. Ooh. I have a stronghold in Cadnua. Help me defend it, and you can stay as long as you'd like. Sell my services for the shelter of a fortress? Sounds like another kind of trouble, but perhaps one I can handle. He begins shuffling back into the shadows. If you need me, you know where to find me. I'll leave Dyrford alone for now. So does that mean he's going? Okay, so Trigel claims that an ogre took Alis somewhere near the Bale River east of Dyrford. While I had a hard time believing she snuck away with him, there may be some clues in the wilderness. Korgrak the ogre denied that he'd eaten Elise. I don't suppose he has anything to hide, but perhaps Trigel does. Also the farmer's plate. So he says he's going to leave. Let's talk. It says we may have an understanding, but I promise nothing for anyone else who wanders in here. I mean, these bones don't seem human. They seem like cow bones or horse bones or something like that. There are a lot of spiders in here, so he could have been telling the truth about the spiders. You're immune to being frightened. Is that frightened too? I might have just done something else they're immune to.
Leave it to me!
Alright. Alas Scepter is completely leveled up. Very nice.
Of course.
So there's some gold in there. That looks like a human is wrapped up in that web there. Rite of Hidden Wonders. +3 mechanics. Okay. Thick webs ripple in the cavern breeze. Mummified remains are tangled within them. Here's the corpse up here. We have a skull key. This iron key has a long shank ending in an intricate bit. The bow is carved to resemble a skull, its mouth agape. I'm guessing that skull key is how to get into that ruins, but we already picked the lock. Tattered note. The note is blood-stained and torn. The edges are smudged with some kind of pigment. From the scraps that are legible, you can make out hastily written instructions. To avoid the entrance in the tower, traffic through my shop would attract the attention. Dyrford may be sympathetic to our goal, but they wouldn't approve of a temple. Yet. Key to the entrance by the river east of town. But be careful on the road. Reports of these days. T. I'm going to guess T is Trigel. We also have Skaen Initiate's hood. This oddly shaped hood is worn by novice worshippers of Skaen, crudely fashioned from coarse material, its modest construction befitting the followers of the quiet slave. So Skaen is one of the gods that we have not yet read about. And we also have Skaen cultist robes. Those who plot the destruction of their superiors while keeping an impassive face will whisper a prayer to Skaen. Political rebels also call upon him for justice in the hope that he will intercede on their behalf with Boudica, with whom he is associated. However, Skaen is an unforgiving deity. If a supplicant tips his hand or acts too rashly, the gods will abandon them. The god will abandon them. The same goes for those who actually achieve their ambitions and rise to a higher station. They can no longer count on Skaen for aid. These robes are comprised of little more than a simple, undyed piece of cloth, tied at the waist by a thick cord. They have been used during grim rituals of the Skaenite faithful, it seems, for they are spattered with patches of blood, both recent and long dried. Okay, so Blood Legacy here. Gets updated. While exploring the cave east of the Bale River, I found a corpse carrying a note and a skull-handled key. The note mentioned a secret temple of some sort with an entrance near the river and another in a tower behind a shop. The note was stained with splotches of some kind of pigment and signed T. So now I think would be an excellent time to read a little bit about Skaen. So first we'll read from the guide about Skaen, all the information in the guide, and then I believe we have the first journal of Jonas, which is also a Skaenite text. We might not have that though. We might need to find that elsewhere, but I'll take a look for that. The entry for Skaen is pretty long. So Skaen, his aliases are the Quiet Slave, the Queen's Slave, the Schemer, and the Effigy. Queen's Slave, I'm guessing, is a reference to Woodica, and it does say that they are associated with each other in what we just read about the robes. His portfolio is defiance, secret hatred, covert plots, resentment, envy, and violent rebellion. Allies are Woodica, possibly, and foes are Abaddon. Symbol. The Quiet Slave has no official clergy or temples, and his worship is conducted in secret. His symbol is usually a small human effigy crafted with simple materials like sticks or clay, but always with shards of flint or another black stone for eyes. In other cases, his symbol may be partially decayed animal or small humanoid corpse, with the eyes replaced by black stones. So another example of loss of eyes. I posited before when we read about Wall that there were some pictures at the bottom of the page. I'll put them up again when we get to the second page in the guidebook, but I believe those were pictures of Skaen worshippers, not Wall. But Wall is also often depicted as eyeless. Alright, so here is the entry for Skaen. Again, it's quite long, so strap in. Skaen is usually depicted as a small, bald man whose body is completely covered in scars. Let me pause here so Durrance doesn't interrupt us again. He appears outwardly humble and submissive with downcast eyes. A closer look reveals that his eyes are glittering and black, seething with a quiet hatred, and that one of his fists is clenched. Those who plot the destruction of their superiors while keeping an impassive face will whisper a prayer to the Quiet Slave. Political rebels also call upon him for justice in the hope that he will intercede on their behalf with Woodica, with whom he is associated. However, Skaen is an unforgiving deity. If a supplicant tips his hand or acts too rashly, the god will abandon them. The same goes for those who actually achieve their ambitions and rise to a higher station. They can no longer count on Skaen for aid. So Skaen stands for, and this is actually something, I think the exact words we just read in the robes, the description of the robes that we examined. But it seems like if you become too powerful, then Skaen will abandon you. So Skaen stands up for the little guy, although he stands up for the little guy when that little guy wants to violently rebel. Illustrations of Woodica often include the Quiet Slave. He accompanies her along the road, walking a few steps behind, carrying her burdens. It isn't clear if the two deities are true allies or if Skaen is merely following Woodica because she has lost her seat of power and plots the downfall of the other gods. Super interesting there. So because Woodica lost power, she was the queen, but now that she has been exiled by the gods, maybe Skaen actually has allied himself with her because of that. Some theologians believe that Woodica stole the portfolio of vengeance from the Quiet Slave, and he follows her until he can find a way to take it back. Skaen manifests as the Effigy, a horrific creature that is called into being by those who are truly oppressed and willing to commit unspeakable acts to set themselves free. Worshippers must choose one of their number to serve as the effigy, shaving this person's hair and removing all signs and symbols of gender or identity. The person is then scourged bloody and over every inch of their body, their ears and nose cut off, their eyes gouged out and replaced with shiny black stones. Finally, they are made to drink the privileged blood of a person of wealth or high birth. This blood must be fresh, and the effigy must consume every drop. Then, if the offering is accepted by the god, which it often is not, Skaen will manifest in the effigy, becoming an utterly unstoppable and pitiless vessel of the god's power, immune to pain and imbued with monstrous strength. As soon as the target oppressors are slain, usually in a gruesome manner, the effigy falls dead. True appearances of the effigy are rare. In most recent cases, about a century before the present day, an effigy reportedly led a backwoods peasant rebellion during which an entire noble family was captured, flayed alive, and nailed to the roof of its estate to be devoured by birds and flies. Understandably, the slave's worship is forbidden in some nations, particularly those with large populations of impoverished peasants or serfs. In the Valian Republics, he appears as the docile slave, a highly sanitized depiction that is despised and frequently defaced by the lower classes. So, a couple things here. Where there is still more to read about Skaen, but one thing that I wanted to mention was that while he sides Skaen's... is this an it? Do they refer to Skaen as an it? I don't know. So while Skaen often sides with the downtrodden, it seems like they side with the downtrodden merely like as kind of an opportunistic thing. They realize that people in bad places in life are often desperate, so they side with those people and encourage bloody rebellion. And it says that even when they do all of the right things, oftentimes the sacrifice that you make to Skaen is not actually accepted. However, because the poor and the downtrodden and the marginalized often turn to Skaen for help when in areas where there are large portions of impoverished people, the ruling classes there have outlawed the worship of Skaen, probably in fear that there's going to be some kind of uprising if people are allowed to worship Skaen. So, as is often the case, a ruling class oppresses those underneath and makes rules as a way to keep themselves in power. And here we see Skaen is... worship of Skaen is illegal because the ruling class doesn't want to actually lose to any kind of uprising or anything. Okay, moving on in the guide here. In Dyrwood, Skaen's faithful often double as torturers and executioners, specializing in the interrogation of high-status prisoners and delighting in their downfall. These are a great many psychotics. There are a great many psychotics in their ranks, whose eccentricities are tolerated, even encouraged, as long as they follow orders and do their jobs. That Skaen is worshipped at all is considered one of the more disturbing characteristics of Dyrwooden culture, but the basis for it is well grounded in history. A loose-knit community of Glanfathan practitioners grew in power after the Broken Stone War made slaves of their warriors. The small following broadened in scope as a reaction to the War of Defiance. Several effigies were secretly attempted in hopes of ending the conflict with the Adiran Empire. As Skaen is associated more closely with domestic transgressions as opposed to national uprisings, he is not known to openly take sides in formal warfare. This, coupled with his cruel and malicious nature, has prevented the Skaenite faith from taking a more general hold on the Dyrwooden populace. Despite the country's strong love of defiance, the possibility of Skaen one day choosing a side in a major conflict is not beyond reason, but the consequences of the quiet slave antagonizing an entire nation are too grim to imagine. So it seems like people know that Skaen is worshipped in Dyrwooden culture, and knowing the history of the Dyrwood, it's kind of clear why. There has been a lot of uprisings here, and people who consider themselves like the Glanfathans to be oppressed look to Skaen to try and take revenge, try and form bloody uprisings. And while Skaen has not really been a part of any kind of national uprising at all, it does suggest that it wouldn't be out of his wheelhouse to actually do that at some point. So Skaen is evil. He's edgy. Well, I say he's evil. It seems more like he is opportunistic. Evil might be a good word, but I think that's making it too simple, actually, to just simply call him evil. Okay, so there is another book that we found at some point called The Final Journal of Jonas, I think it is. So I'm going to look for that now. I don't know if we actually have it on our person or if we just found it in one of the, like the Hall of Revealed Mysteries or something. But let me take a look for that now. Yeah, I know that one looks like a black journal, and yeah, it doesn't look like we have that. So We'll have to look for that at some point. Despite it being a journal, I feel like there are multiple copies of it in places all over the place. So when we find that, we'll read a little bit more about Skaen. But for now, we are done with Skaen. He is going to be important moving forward in this game, at least for this portion of the game. All right, so... I thought the game froze, but it was just because I paused it. I wonder if I can go further this way, over here. Whoa, we have a spider queen in here. Okay, let's do this.
This thing isn't doing the job.
Spider Queen seems like a good time to pull out our summons.
You're not getting...
Oh, Utamok's taking on the Spider Queen by himself. Wasn't as difficult as I was imagining it would be. Pretty terrifying looking spider there, though. Spider Venom Sac. Fine quarterstaff and some money. That.
All right, then.
That's it for this cave here. Let's rest. No, let's not rest. We'll head to this underground place right here.
Quietly now.
Where is this? Is it Dyrford Ruins? Is this an Engwithan ruin? This effigy is made of several crooked sticks tied together with rough twine. It casts an ominous, flickering shadow on the wall. I found a ruin of some kind underneath Dyrford. It's not clear what it used to be, but symbols of Skaen have been painted on the walls and carved into the tunnels.
You're not getting...
Skaen worshippers with stilettos.
Slow and silent.
Mow it.
Produces a psychic howl in the targeted area, stunning the target as well as dealing raw damage to all enemies within. Stands a high chance of causing an interrupt. Got the blind spell too, so let's try that. I don't know if these guys are really strong, or it was just because some of my people weren't able to reach.
Laying low.
Now is a good time to rest. And I'm going to give us damage reduction. Go back there.
I'm sorry if I was a little tactless before, about your being a watcher. I didn't really understand what was involved. Is it hard, hearing the spirits all the time?
It can get a little overwhelming. Well, you needn't soften your words on my account, if it ever gets to be too much. We'll find the means to cure you, Beater. You have my word on that.
I'll see what I can find.
So I think it's just the curio shop. Nope, we have the botanical garden too. So curio shop, artificer's hall, and the botanical garden. Let's go. Let's do the curio shop first. We'll just go down the list there. Rite of Walking Shadows. +3 stealth. I've never done like a stealth playthrough of this game. Wonder if that would be fun.
And the fire shows me something new.
You failed to disarm the trap.
Something
A lot of traps
over there.
here. Okay. Do I have something that ups my mechanics? I think I do. Yeah, this one right here. So, rites are a special type of magical scroll. The ritual contained in the scroll allows the reader to grant a specific skill bonus to all of his or her allies for a long duration. So, let's I think Durns can use it. Let's give this rite a try. I don't think I've really done anything like this before, but okay.
And what does the flame reveal?
Hey, we did it. That was exciting. I don't know if exciting is the right word.
That's settled.
I always like it when I can
That's settled.
read things and I'm able to figure things out because of I've been paying attention. It's very rewarding.
That's unusual.
That's settled.
You're not getting through.
Especially since for a while I was running through these dungeons and wondering why I kept getting caught by the traps.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which is not very quiet.
Okay, so I know it's kind of a weird place to stop, but it's about an hour, so I'm going to end this session here. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I hope you join me in the next session as well. This session we explored the Dyrford Crossing. We found some ruins, which is what we're in now. We also found the dragon egg. We went to a cave that had an ogre with some bear friends and a queen spider in it. But we also read a little bit about Skaen and his followers and what he does and what his portfolio is. So I hope that was interesting you, and I hope that you join me for the next session. I will hopefully see you then. Thanks everybody for watching.